It is 7 o'clock in the morning. We're anchored in Mimiwhangata Bay. Morning chorus is four-legged today. Will we make it home today or have to stop at Tutukaka? Right, off we go. We go around this peninsula and then start heading south again. We can still see Cape Brett and Hole in the Rock Island. Whangārei Harbour's over there. We're going to pass between Rimariki Island, which is on the left, and the mainland, which is on the right. Right, there's Rimariki Island. The passage is very navigable. Best avoiding a huge easterly, as we found out one year, and need to keep a close eye on the chart for rocks. We're heading that way. You can just make out Tutukaka, one of the gables in the far distance. I stopped under the headland of this bay last year on my way to the Bay of Islands, as there was a very strong sou'wester kicked up by that stage. A last look into Whangārei Harbour and awoke, and there's looking out to the poor night islands. Well, with the official forecast, I think it's reasonable to make sensible haste down the coast, so we are motor sailing. The main is contributing a small amount, although we're on a very close haul course on port. In here is Rockwell's Bay. This is called Four Islets. There is clear passage inside. Right, this is Maurice's Bay, and over there is Whangarei Township, just over the bridge. Right, over here is Elizabeth Reef. Certainly there's been at least one ship wrecked on it, and in around that point is the entrance to Whangarei Estuary, where I popped in with CATMANTOO on the way back home 2 years ago, when the weather was much more benign. It's a lot easier to see when there's a big swell, and there's not a big swell today. And looking back to where we've come from, once we're around Elizabeth Reef we can bear off a bit and might be able to do without the engines. Still too close on the nose to sail without tacking, and as said before, I'm prioritising making the distance south. Looks like we could have some rain, judging by those very dark grey clouds that have appeared. Well, with the rain, the wind turned just slightly more northish, so I am sailing engines off and actually taking a course that's about 10 degrees away from the coast, just allowing for the fact it could well move back again. That'll be a super yacht. Wind has definitely come up as well as changed direction in our favour. Oh, here's a TP52 heading for the bay. We can see the gables of Tutukaka and just start to make out Bream Head over Tarakura Head. Oh, we've eased off into a slightly close reach. Wind still sitting at about 15 knots, and I've set a course for off Bream Head, which should be about 2.5 hours away at this pace. So we're doing 7 knots. Another race boat heading for the bay, a bit smaller this time. One reef. We're passing Tutukaka. There's South Gable. Tutukaka Harbour's on the left. See down to the marina at the moment. It's the only place that one can stop on the way to Whangarei in these conditions. It's not that comfortable. The boat's tending to rock from side to side as we side on to the waves, but at least we're not sailing on our ear. Oh, there's looking down to Whangarei. The estuary entrance has apparently changed quite dramatically, so the current markers are not correct. Long beach over to here, stayed under that headland there before. There's Whangārei Head and Bream Head. We're actually firing along at between 7.5 and 8 knots at the moment. It's not particularly comfortable, and it's very noisy as the seas occasionally slap the back of the bridge deck. Down there to leeward is Patau. When the boys were little, although we proved we could go sailing, it was an awful lot easier to go camping. So Patau was about 20 minutes from home. Had a surf beach, a sheltered estuary and a motor camp where we had a permanent site. We had the caravan, a small cottage and some decking, and we had wonderful summers there. When I recommissioned Travelling Light, we actually launched her here. I had replaced the centre case and could get her in and out of the estuary. Probably could get CATMANTOO in or out on a very good day, but a little point. It doesn't look very rough at all through the video camera, but we're getting white horses starting to appear now. Right, Whangārei Head. Seas have picked up a bit, so we've got an easterly swell with the easterly chop on top. There's supposed to be a northerly swell as well, but it's very hard to distinguish it. And we've been slowly catching up on this boat here, so we might have a fairly rapid lurch from side to side. They're still rolling a fair bit. I'm actually doing my best to hold the camera still. Well, here's looking into McGregor's Bay. We've got friends with a house in there. They're actually motoring and sailing. Well, that advisory is for our offshore water. Bream Head's just ahead. We should be getting there and around in about an hour's time. So it is 11:30. We're off Whangārei Mountain. We have Mount Benaya in behind. It doesn't look as spectacular from this angle. And then the long ocean beach down to Bream Head. Oh, we have a better view of Mount Benaya, and we're about half an hour away from Whangarei Island, which is just this side of Bream Head. We're about half an hour from Bream Head. Could be a bit rougher there because we've got the outcoming tide out of the harbour, but once we get round Bream Head, we won't be side on to the swells and seas. That'll make life more pleasant. First piece of blue sky. Bream Head. Down there's where the road to Ocean Beach comes out, and just over the other side is Urquhart's Bay. Well, somewhere just to leeward is Bream Rock, which we've gone round the seaward side. So in fact the smaller island on the left's Guano, but I think we just call them both Guano, it's easier. And then we're now going to be altering course to Bream Head. We're on a broad reach now. The autopilot's working hard, but the motion of CATMANTOO is an awful lot better. There's the lighthouse above Guano, that insignificant looking white thing down there. I'll put the jib away because we're running dead downwind, and certainly much more pleasant motion now. The apparent wind's now down to 8 knots and our speed's down to a lowly 5. Peach Cove's over there, Smuggler's Bay. Well, this is certainly much more comfortable sailing. Ahead is Busby Head, and around that we're into the harbour. It's getting a little bit gusty through here as the wind's coming slightly down off the hills to Bream Head. Mount Whangarei back in view. Typical hazy, humid easterly conditions. Well, there's Frenchman, and we're going to tanker in at Marsden Point. We're going to have a strong outgoing tide against us. I admit I'm cheating, so the winds come round on the bow under the hill here. So I'm taking the opportunity of motoring and keeping into the back eddy. Now it's blowing 20 knots at the moment. We've got an outflowing tide. We've got good flowing waves over the end of Mere Bank. So head up harbour, hope it's not too bad at the mooring. You can see the end of Manganese Point. There it is, past Passage Island, so that's home. Good timing for the worst of the wind, bad timing for the tide. Well, I can't say I've ever seen the seas like this. It's pouring out and there's a change in depth here. Oh, we've only got one ship at Northport. It's all pretty grey. We are in close to Snake Bank, doing our usual trick of keeping out of the worst of the tide. We are attached to the mooring. It wasn't easy because we got a gusty wind from the stern and a spring outgoing tide coming from the bow, but actually made it first go after a number of positionings. Just need to take the whole pile of stuff to shore. We did 40 nautical miles today. Freezer's off. Fridge, which says freezer, and bilge pumps are on. Bilge pumps are on auto. Main is off. Piles of stuff for washing and rubbish to go home. Well, made it to shore. Certainly not the best weather ever for a January cruise.